In today's episode, we have a special father and daughter episode featuring a rising young tech enthusiast and entrepreneur, Allison Britt, alongside her father, Marcus Britt, who is serving as a senior manager, digital teammate experience at Under Armour. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Allison. I am currently 15 years old, and I recently started my LLC DragonScript, which will be a gaming-based platform to build games, so like gaming dev website. And I'm interested in, I play a lot of video games, and I read a ton, and I'm really into the tech community.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. And I'm Marcus Britt, proud father of Allison Britt. I currently work for Under Armour, like we stated earlier, as a senior manager for digital teammate experience. And what that really is focused on is helping the HR and legal groups in my company utilize their technology stack to ensure that we have good systems and good processes to engage our teammates and make sure their services run well. I've been in the technology industry now for over 24 years. Really, my entire life has been around technology, but I really focus on technology as a basis to help people. That's why I love it so much. And I'm super excited to be here and have a chance to share our story.
It's great having you both on the podcast. Allison, I would love to hear about what first sparked your interest in technology, and can you share that journey with us?
Um, as a child, I think I've always been invested in technology, thanks to my dad. Um, we played a lot of video games growing up, and I just loved the idea of making stuff in the virtual world. So during like middle school, around that time when COVID started to hit, I think I got more into technology than ever before. Um, I learned to code more so. I learned a bit how computers work and like the insides of them. So I feel like that's been the biggest boost and inspiration for my tech business and my tech journey as a whole.
And Marcus, from your perspective, both as a tech professional and a father, how did you notice and support Allison's growth in the interest of technology?
Yeah, great question. I will say some of it's by osmosis because I'm such a techie, and Allison would be around when I'm doing my traditional tech talk. But Allison is a brilliant young lady and always been very inquisitive. And I think when I first noticed, that Google has these great doodles, right, and moments in history, and they had one for Jerry Lawson. And for those of you who don't know, Jerry Lawson is attributed with creating the video game cartridge. It's really revolutionized in the video game industry. I'm old enough, Kelly, to remember when you had to actually go to an arcade to play video games, right? So I'm dating myself here. But with his technology advancement, it brought video games into the home. And it was an opportunity like to get on that doodle and kind of build your own like level that you could play. And I just kind of was playing around with it. And Allison asked me, "What's that, Dad?" I gave it to her, and she made this incredible complete level that was so much fun playing. And I'm like, hey, maybe you may have a knack for this. So that's when I first kind of saw that she had a passion or kind of a desire to be in the technology space.
That's really cool. And kind of switching gears, I wanted to find out a bit more about you, Allison, and understand your involvement in entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a bit more about your project and what drives you?
Um, like I said before, my project is DragonScript, which will be like a platform, kind of like those big industries you see already that kind of like build video games. I think my biggest drive is to just see other people like me just doing video gaming and doing what I do, especially young girls. I feel like there's not a lot of like fair representation of girls in video games. Um and just other people in general. So I feel like more inclusivity and just more connections with people is my drive and my inspiration. Because seeing people like me doing it makes me want to do it. And I want to be that person for other young girls and boys so that they can follow their dreams as well.
Marcus, as someone who's been in the tech industry for over 20 years, how do you balance guiding Allison and letting her forge her own path?
Yeah, that's been a challenge for me because I'm super passionate about technology and I love what she's doing with it. I've always, you know, looked at technology as a way to help humanity. So Allison's passion around building a platform or an organization that is focused on teaching and exposing, coding and opportunities in the video game industry to, we groups that may be underrepresented. I'm just super proud about that. So the balance for me is trying not to, because I see what potential she has, and it's trying to balance letting Allison discover it for herself, but then also coaching her. Because I think one of the items that's been one of our challenges is that Allison doesn't see how brilliant she is sometimes, and she can kind of be hard on herself if she doesn't get it right the first time. But I'm, just encouraging her that you're doing an amazing job with what you're doing, and you're doing great. I mean, I was 15, I was nowhere near where Allison is as far as having a passion and a drive to build something for the good of others in that space. So I'm super proud. So I think it's really a balance of trying to be her coach at times, and then also trying to be her dad to encourage her. So just kind of getting that good balance in space. I'm not trying to push too hard, but then also encouraging her to reach for the stars.
And through encouraging her, I'm sure you've gained a lot of experiences from your own journey in tech. So I'm curious to know what has been your biggest challenges to overcome from working in the tech industry.
Yes, that's a great question. I think initially it was a little bit of imposter syndrome because I can relate with Allison is that, representation in some of the, tech world for Black men isn't as, is somewhat underrepresented as well, as far as what Allison's saying here for girls and technology is that way sometimes too. So I had to kind of get out of my own way. At times, I would like second guess or question my thought processes or my systems or my solutions that I would come up with. A lot of times, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself initially. So really, Allison's coming along and kind of being almost symbiotic, helping me too to say, well, yeah, my daughter's doing this, so yes, I am okay. I can do this. So that's been one of the bigger challenges there. And then also just the technology as a whole is increasing. The change is happening so rapidly now. It's sometimes hard to keep up. As we know now with the adoption of Gen AI and almost every solution that you have, I think the technology industry is going to have another seismic shift. I think the disruption of AI is going to be similar to what we experienced when the internet became a common platform for all people. I think there's a lot of changes that are coming, but I'm super excited about it. And so now in the space that I am in now, also with being encouraged and inspired by my own daughter, I am in a space where I no longer deal with that imposter syndrome, and I'm free to really be an artist. I kind of consider myself an artistic technologist, is what I say, right? Because I look at technology as a tool for people to be better at what they do. It's an accelerator for me. It's not just about the technology. It's how can this technology be applied to make a process, system, or people better. That's kind of my mantra now. So that's where I am. That's what I've kind of dealt with, and I'm kind of coming on the other side of that now, Kelly.
Listen, could you tell us a bit more about your involvement with the Girl Scouts and how that connects with your interest in technology?
It connects more so that I get to teach people and tell them how technology works. I actually recently led a badge with one of my other fellow Girl Scouts that talks about web design. And we're probably going to like actually teach them some point in time because I know they're a little busy right now, but teach them some point in time actually how to build one for what they want to do. So I feel like in that aspect, it's a community and it's also technology in a way because you get to teach others how to utilize tools to help you. I feel like it's also just like the fun aspect of it. Like I also remember another batch that I did, which taught you how to code, and you did like a step-by-step maze to kind of teach you how like to code correctly so you wouldn't miss any steps. I feel like that the fun aspect of it also teaching girls how to do stuff without it being in your face and being more fun and creative is also another thing.
Marcus, with your background in digital transformation at Under Armour, how do you see organizations like Girl Scouts preparing the next generation for tech careers?
I think it's a great opportunity and it's imperative for organizations like Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, other organizations that are trusted organizations that are focused on helping our youth succeed, to get involved in the technology adoption and really exposure, right? Because really for Allison, what I did is I just exposed her and gave her a pathway, right? Because I'm a tech guy, I was able to help decipher and kind of connect. And Allison was asking a lot of questions around, "Hey, Dad, what's a CPU? What's RAM?" I said, "Well, let's figure it out," and kind of exposed her and let her take on her own journey. So I think what's Allison already said this, but what's so important or impactful about Girl Scouts is that there's a lot of, I guess you would say, um, characteristics around Girl Scouts that you can be utilized in technology. I think one of Allison, if correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the focuses of Girl Scouts is being a sister to every Girl Scout, right? And helping. So it's in and having an environment to where it's, you know, less confusing or demystifying. Sometimes technology can be very intimidating. There are a lot of
Mhm.
acronyms, there's a lot of different things. And for some people, and I really hate the stigma that people put on themselves, if they don't know technology, then they're not smart, which is I loathe that. I don't think that's true at all. But it's a good way to introduce it in a like Allison said, non-confrontational or a very oh, this is Girl Scouts. I'm going to a Girl Scout meeting and I'm going to learn how to build a website. Much different than someone asking, "Hey, can you teach me how to build a website? What's HTML? What's CSS?" and all these things there. So I think it's a good pathway for organizations like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts to present technology to their students, the young adults, in a very comfortable setting because I'm already comfortable with Girl Scouts, right? I know my scout leader, I know my troop leader, I know my other Girl Scouts that are here in my troop. So it's kind of a good way. So I think that's very paramount. And then also with other organizations that are external, like corporations, partnering with these organizations, right? I'm a member of the Charlotte SIM, which is the Society for Information Management. I'm in the Charlotte chapter, and I'm part of the STEM outreach board. And it's really our focus to really connect with organizations in the Charlotte area to assist in programs and connect with them and kind of build a community. So I think the biggest way is to figure like how can we help technology connect in the communities that we're already a part of, and then expose people in those communities to the technology in a safe space for them to ask questions and not feel intimidated by it.
And with regards to having a safe space where people can ask questions, do you have any tips, Marcus, on
Mhm.
someone who is quite young and wanting to get into tech, how they could go about doing that? Maybe if you
Yes, absolutely. So I would say definitely first thing would be to take a wherever you are in your communities, look for any STEM outreach organizations, trusted organizations that have programs. For example, InTech is a program that Alice and I are part of, and they had a summer program that taught young students how to build a tech startup. And that's where Allison really got like a lot of the information and connection that's there. So I would say look for the organizations that are really focused on STEM outreach and make sure they're trusted organizations, number one. And then also number two is try to find a mentor. If there's a trusted family member or someone that you know in the community, to really kind of sit down with your youth and talk about it, because that's one thing that I love. I love to teach. And so really having an understanding, because I think there are a lot of stereotypes in technology careers that think you have to be behind the desk typing code. And that's not the only aspect of technology. I think most organizations or most business, I should say, have technology and it's not what you would think it is. So I would say mentorship and finding accredited organizations to become a part of, like Girls Who Code, Dottie Rose is another one that comes to mind. Just look for organizations that have those credibilities and start there. And then parents, if you're interested, also volunteer with the organizations. I think that's one of the things that helps really drive that home.
Yes, I really appreciated what you mentioned about like all the different career paths. I know here on my podcast, I try to highlight how many variations of different career paths there are in
Yes,
STEM, and the fact that there is a large variety for anyone really. So it's just a matter of being exposed to it so you can actually know that it exists and being able to
absolutely.
be role models in those positions. Allison, what are your hopes and dreams for the future in technology?
Mainly, probably one of them is just to see a better community in technology, a more diverse community. Just like people having fun with coding, because coding isn't, it can be hard depending on what language you use, but it can also be fun if you make it fun. I also see a lot, I probably see a ton of AI in the future. Um, and that may help a bit, and it may help people expose it a little bit more. But at the same time, I think that AI could be used to like help people code a little bit instead of just like giving them all the information, but it would be able to help them as a tool, like, okay, what do I use for this? So maybe that in the future. And that's probably it, I think. I haven't really been thinking much about the future, but I hope that it's more diverse, it's more fun in coding, and I hope I see a lot of more games made by people with their own experiences.
I think Alison hit on a very hot topic there with regards to AI. And Marcus, I'm curious, where do you think technology is heading for the future by the time your daughter is going to be wanting to get into the industry? What do you think the landscape will be looking like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, I would say I've done some research with McKinsey. I've had some chance to connect with their resources, and it's interesting that adoption in AI is far more in the non-technical spectrum than it is technology spectrum. I would say 60% of one of the jobs that we've seen, like an array of jobs, were non-technical as far as the adoption. So people are using AI to write emails, they're using AI to build standard operating procedures, you name it. So there's a definite hunger for generative AI and getting AI to do these functions. So I would say the way technology is going to look is that, to Allison's point, I think it's going to be a much more even playing field to where you can say, hey, from a basis, can you help me code something in this space, whether it's a language like, let's say, C sharp. Hey, give me some C sharp code because I want to build a game that does something like this. And it's a good starting point, right? And so I think there's going to be an opportunity for the playing field to be accelerated or shifted to where the primary custom elements may be still done by people, but some of the general code functions may be produced by an AI resource. And then now, instead of spending that time on the basic things, now you can have more creativity and more space to create. So that's what I see in the technology realm is that, okay, all of the tasks that we had to do, like, for example, I love people, I love meeting with people and communicating and collaborating. I'm not great when it comes to like, okay, let's build the artifacts of that meeting. Let's go back and get all the meeting minutes and all the options and all of the different um, decisions that were made and what are the action items. I struggle with that. But now we have AI solutions like Copilot that can, transcribe the meeting and give a summary, right, of the meeting that was there. So I really think the way that we work is going to be shifting. And in the technology space, video gaming design acutely, you're going to have people able to kind of stand on some of these things that AI can do, and then even be more creative because you'll have more time and space for those things. So that's kind of what I see in the industry and what's happening right now. Kind of the playing field being leveled to an extent, and then we can say, okay, how can we now connect dots and create value versus, okay, I have to do all of these kind of basic tasks. I think that's what's going to happen. And organizations and people that do that best are going to have a leg up on the competition, if you will. Yeah, and Kelly, to that point, that's one of the things that I'm really proud for Allison too, is she's in her troop, she kind of also taught about prompt engineering. That's one of the skill sets I would think is a hot skill set for anyone who wants to get into technology, understanding generative AI. I'm not afraid of it. I think it's just another tool. Some people are like, it's going to take all the jobs away from us. Like, I don't see that. But it's considering the fact, I'm dating myself again, Kelly, here, is that I remember when typing was an actual skill you put on a resume, how many words per minute you can type. But now everybody can type. So it's a kind of expected skill set. So I think Gen AI and using prompting engineering is going to be an expected skill set in the technology landscape that's coming. And so the more we can get, young, women or even, children or men, whomever, exposed to that, the better for them.
Great. We're almost coming to the end of this episode. But before we wrap up, Allison, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to other young people who are interested in tech?
I would say it's to, like my dad said before, just to get exposed to it. It's a very fun and very, if you get used to it, it's very amazing. I would say if you're young, just, follow your dream. Like, get into it because the more I got into video games and the more I got into coding, the more I loved it. So if you really have a passion for it, you'll love it even more and you'll do it even more. Um, you should also, like that said, find mentors, find people that relate to you because that helped me a lot. And just have fun with it. It doesn't have to be like hard or stressful, although it can be a little bit sometimes when you can't find that one little code or you have a bug in your code, but that's okay. Just have fun with it and follow your dreams. And who knows, maybe you'll make games like me one day.
That's great advice. Marcus, I was wondering if you could give advice focusing mostly on parents who have children who want to get into tech.
Yes, and so to Allison's point, mentorship is critical. I want to give a shout out to Casey Zates from M&S Consulting and also Gigi Sizer from Conterra Networks. Allison had an opportunity to shadow them for one day, and M&S Consulting was working with Conterra Networks, and they kind of started their ceremony where they were kind of going into a new project, and she saw, all of the intake process and the whiteboarding and pulling concepts together. And they were doing some ideation on that and building out the project plan and kind of extracting things. So that's really when I saw Allison really take off, right? Because she always had me as a person who was supporting her, but seeing women that looked like her operating in their excellence in their technology fields really lit the fire for her. And so I would say finding mentorship from parents, if there's one nugget you take away from this podcast, is find a good mentor, someone's willing to help and connect and really kind of show the reality of that space. Because like you said, there's a lot of misconceptions around technology careers and understanding what you love and then finding the passion in it. So whatever your child's passionate about, feed it and let them explore, but not push. Like I don't push Allison. I'm not trying to drive her too hard. She's really, grasped this passion for herself, and I'm just here to align with her and help her in that. And then also looking at other opportunities to join organizations in your local community for STEM outreach and volunteer. So the two things I would say: volunteer at an organization for parents, and then also find mentorship for your child, and let them kind of have an opportunity to connect and see what they can achieve.
How best can people follow you on your journey and how can they connect with you?
The best way probably I'm building probably right now I'm building like groups and stuff. I'm building my LinkedIn right now. And probably I have like a Discord group that I'm gonna build as well, and I'll be a moderator in that so that other people can like share their ideas, maybe give code and stuff like that. And I may or may not in the future build an Instagram. We'll see.
Yeah, and then also you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm going to be helping Allison build out her LinkedIn profile so that anyone who's excited or wants to connect with her in her journey, you can also connect with me, and we can help get you exposed. I am an open book. I love the idea of our next generation of leaders and world changers being exposed to technology early, so that they can, understand even if you don't want to have a career in it, understand how to utilize it and know what's out there for you. Because I'm a big recipient of that. I've seen people that look like me operating in this space, and it's given me really, I would say, the vision to be able to achieve what I've done. So I want to definitely pay that forward and be a mentor to someone else.
Thank you both for sharing your inspiring father and daughter journey in technology. And thank you to our listeners for tuning into the Women in STEM podcast. And thank you for coming on the Women in STEM podcast. Listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite streaming platform, leave a review and rating to help us reach more listeners, and follow our social medias, the latest updates and behind the scene content. Join us next week for another exciting episode. And until then, keep exploring the world of STEM and empowering women in STEM.